As men, we hold a spiritual weight that demands directional intent. When culture tries to define what manhood is, it's our responsibility to reclaim who God has called us to be. At 5-Star Man, we've designed a 45-day challenge to help transform you physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, financially, and yes, spiritually. It will move us from passivity to purpose, from weakness to strength. Sign up for the 45-day challenge today.
Hey guys, welcome to 5-Star Man Champions live stream. I'm your host, Neil Kennedy. I'm glad that you are here. Hey, if you would, make sure that you give us a shout out and your name, where you're coming from. We have a lot of people. We normally have somewhere around 400 or more people that connect with us on Monday nights. And so we're glad that you are here, men. It's great to see so many of our regular guys. It's great to see you, and make sure that you encourage and engage with one another. Hey, if you don't know, 5-Star Man is a movement to resurrect authentic biblical manhood. You can find out more at 5starman.com. And when you go there, we want to encourage you to sign up for the 45-day challenge. I want to share the QR code with you. You can grab that or just go straight to 5starman.com. And then when you go there, you'll sign up for the 45-day challenge. We will lead you through a challenge that will promise you change your life. It'll change you physically, mentally, emotionally, relationally, and more than important, you will have a closer walk with Jesus Christ. And it'll transform your life. I promise you that. And so we have well over 1,000 men that are going through the 45-day challenge, and they're also being awarded the certificate of completion, and then we're giving a challenge coin along with that. And those that have finished the challenge and you're waiting for your certificate and your coin, we're looking at the best way to deliver that to you. So be patient with us on that. What we really want to do is we want to present it to you personally and pray with you, commission you to become a champion. So that's where our struggle is right now. So bear with me on that, and we'll get that to you as soon as we possibly can, and we'll figure that out. So apologize if you have finished the challenge and you're not yet there. I've gotten the coin and the certificate. Bear with me. We're also launching very soon, probably this week. We're launching our Challenger to Champions leadership course. And I've written a small book on that, and we've created a course out of it, producing video content with it as well. And so bear with us on that. Pray with me. Derek Drawn and I are going to be speaking in Santiago, Chile, a national conference for men there, our Authentic 5-Star Man Conference. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it starting next week. That's coming up in December. It's going to be in Lodi, California, Bear Creek Church. It's going to be an incredible conference. Mark Prado, Derek Drawn, myself, and another lead pastor named Jason Kennedy, of no relationship to me other than being a brother in Christ and a friend, is also going to be there. So, hey, we need to get started. We need to get into tonight's teaching. I am excited about sharing with you tapping the protocol of potential and prosperity. I want to go ahead and tell you straight up that I'm using the word prosperity because it's a biblical word. Most people are ignorant and they don't know what the word prosperity is. They don't know what it means. And some say, well, let's just not use it. And I'm telling you right now, we want to use the word prosperity because it's a biblical word, and we don't want to throw it out because it actually means something. And we're going to talk about that and what it means. So if you've got a blind spot, if you've got ignorance when it comes to the word prosperity, if you've been taught a false teaching against prosperity, then I'm going to challenge you on that. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate. I've already tapped into the hate that people have against prosperity. But if you'll hang with me and you get through this teaching, We'll defeat that, and I will help you out. And I promise you, it will help you, because you need to be able to tap into your potential, and you need to have prosperity to fulfill your purpose. And so we're going to talk about that at length, and I want to share this with you. So as we open this up, let's go to Genesis chapter 3, verse 17. Genesis chapter 3, verse 17. While you're turning there, let me give you a little bit of a recap. This series is, I'm writing this as a book, and it'll be more in depth in the book than it is in the video teaching that I'm giving you. But it's based on Isaiah 48, verse 17. The Lord, the Redeemer, teaches you. He says, I am the Lord your God who teaches you to profit. Jesus has a teaching on profit. And he demonstrates this in Luke chapter 5, verse 5. Remember what he told Peter. He said, go out into the deep and cast your net, and you're going to have a harvest of fish. Jesus knows where the fish are. And he says, I want you to go deep, and I want you to pull up the net. And Peter says, okay, look, we've been toiling, we've been laboring all night long, but nevertheless, because of your word, I'll do it. And Peter pulled up so much that his net began to almost break from the harvest that Jesus gave them. So one word from God can change your life. Jesus has a teaching on how to profit, and you want to be able to tap into that teaching. So Genesis chapter 3, verse 17. If you're there in the comments, say amen. Now watch this. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Getting food from the ground will be as painful as having babies is for your wife. You'll be working in pain all your life long. Getting food from the ground will be as painful as having babies is for your wife. And you will be working in pain all your life long. He goes on to say, the ground will sprout thorns and weeds. You'll get your food the hard way, planting and tilling and harvest and sweating in the field from dawn till dusk until you return to the ground yourself, dead and buried. You started out as dirt, you will end up dirt. This is what it means to be dirt poor. It's what it means to be dirt poor. That you'll be working in pain your entire life. Now watch this. The woman was assigned pain to labor in the producing of a child. The woman is given labor pains. And everyone says there is no pain like labor pain. There's no pain like labor pain. And I'm telling you that this is part of the fall, and we're going to get into this. This is what happened after Adam embezzled from God, and he took from the sacred portion. And when he did, poverty was the result for him. When you steal from God, poverty is the result for you. So remember, the woman was assigned to pain in the labor of producing a child. But watch this. The man was assigned in pain in their labor to produce a living. Women are assigned to pain in producing a child. Man is assigned to pain in trying to produce a living. Now, it's a sad commentary. But here's the blessing and the principle that we're going to drive home to you today. And that is, the blessing of the Lord makes a man rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. So how do we reconcile what happens with man in producing his work becomes labor to all of a sudden now Proverbs is telling us in Proverbs 10:22 that the blessing of the Lord makes a man rich and he adds no sorrow to it. Well, the key word is the blessing. So how do we get the redeemed blessing? How do we get the redemptive work of Christ who teaches us to profit? And how do we escape the pain and the labor and the toil that's working against us? Because when your work is working against you, you're in labor. So this is what's happening. Here's what's happening. Adam is born into prosperity. Everything about Adam's life is prosperous. He's living in the garden. His work is called vocation. It's called a divine calling, and his work is blessed. He's given a gift of seed, and with the seed, man is given the ability to satisfy his cravings in life. With the gift of seed, man can literally crave something, plant a seed, harvest the fruit of the seed, eat it, satisfy his cravings. There's a whole teaching in that. But what I want you to see is the blessing that Adam is living in is all of a sudden lost when Adam embezzles from God's property. God had assigned the tree of life, and he assigned a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And he tells Adam, you need to eat from the tree of life, and all the other trees in the garden are for yours. But there's one tree that is restricted. That tree is my property on the earth, and I do not want you to touch it. I don't want you to eat it. And you know the story. And I'm not going to get into all of the teaching around that, because if I do, it'll take the whole evening. But you know the story. Adam eats from the tree. Eve eats from the tree. Adam eats from the tree. Now, everything that was working for Adam is now working against Adam. Now the ground is working against him. Rather than producing fruit, now the ground is producing thorns and thistles. Now what was an enjoyment becomes labor. So what we want to do is we want to turn our labor into favor. We want to turn our labor into favor. So back in Isaiah, Jesus says, I have a teaching on how to profit, but in order to do that, I'm going to have to bring you some redemption. So let's get some terminology settled, because if you don't get this, you're not going to understand all of the teaching. The first word that I want you to understand, make note of, is redeem. This means to buy back. It's a field, as a field to be redeemed. It means to repurchase, pay the price for. The Hebrew word goes even further than a financial recompense. It means the requirement of blood or the avenging of blood. And so the Lord is the Redeemer, and he purchased back with that precious currency called blood. Blood, within blood is the life. I'm always tempted to go deep into this teaching, and I've got to restrict myself from it. There needs to be a whole teaching on blood. And while communion is such a mystery and a sacrament, and while Satan is obsessed with eating the blood of animals and having man eat the blood of humans, it's crazy. I can't get into that. I need to keep going. So just remember this. Redeem means to buy back. It means to purchase. And the next word that we've got to get is profit. Profit is to ascend. It means to rise. It means to rise above. It means to excel. It means to gain. Now, this is where the world system is at odds with us, because as a believer in Christ, you are someone who believes in profit. You have to, because Jesus teaches us to profit. If you don't believe this, you're not a follower of Christ. Listen, you cannot be a follower of Christ and exclude yourself from this teaching, because Jesus teaches us to profit. In this series, I'm going to blow away all of the horrible, false economic theories that rob us from being able to fulfill our purpose. Okay, the next word that you've got to get is the word prosper. Prosper. We need to understand prosper means to expeditious journey. It means to lead in direct paths, to grant a successful passage. It means to successfully arrive at one's destination or destiny. Now, notice the word prosper does not mean that you're going to have a 20,000 square foot home. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a jet. It doesn't mean you're going to have a car. In the sense that that's the goal. Now, what it does mean is you're going to have the means to fulfill your meaning. Camp out on that just for a minute. It means that you're going to have the means to fulfill your meaning. That may require a car or a truck. Of course. It may require a helicopter or a plane. Of course. Whether you fly commercial or private, that's irrelevant. If you're prospering, it means that you have the ability to fulfill the purpose that God has assigned for you. If you have a $1 million vision and purpose, and you only have $100,000, you're not prosperous. You're not prosperous. See, some people will say this. Why does someone need such and such? It's not about that. It's about, does that tool help me to successfully fulfill my destiny? Everything is relative to that. That's why you should never judge a laborer to his master. I'm going to challenge you tonight. If you sit around and you compare yourself and your purpose and your vision and your destiny with somebody else's, you're being foolish. And if you sit around judging what someone else does with the money that they have, you're foolish. That's not your assignment in life. You're actually being foolish, slanderous, you're gossiping, you're ungodly. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to me what another man does with the funds and the finances that he has. It means nothing to me. I'm not going to judge it. That's not my assignment in life. What I have to do is answer for the assignment that God has given me. Now, if you have a $10 million vision and you have $1 million, you're still not prosperous. Because prosperity means that you have the ability to fulfill your meaning. So, What does it mean to go from labor to favor? We've got to lay the groundwork here, because what happens is Cain and Abel are born into the poverty that Adam has as a result of his embezzlement. So Adam and Eve are no longer wealthy. They're no longer rich, and they're no longer prosperous. Now they are in constant toil, and the seed that Adam had is now not working for him. And because of this, he now is thrust into poverty. And Cain and Abel are raised in this poverty mentality. But then something happens. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 4. In Hebrews chapter 11, verse 4, go there with me. Hebrews 11, verse 4. Watch what happens. Hebrews 11, verse 4. This is the very first man that's ever mentioned that operates in faith. Think about that. What I'm about to share with you is the first man in recorded history that operates faith. Up until now, no one has ever exercised faith. Verse 4, by faith, Abel brought God a better sacrifice, a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings. By faith, Abel still speaks, even though he is dead. Guys, I don't know if you fully grabbed what I just said. Abel is the very first man who ever used the force of faith. Now, we know what faith is. Faith is a substance. It's a substance. It's not something mystical. It is a real, tangible commodity of exchange. By faith, faith is a substance of something that is imaginary, meaning that we have the ability to imagine or have vision. And faith is a substance of that. And we express faith by corresponding action. So what does Abel do? So Abel says, okay, every day I'm laboring. Every day I'm going through this horrible pain of trying to produce a living. And every day I'm struggling. So what I want to do is somehow turn my labor into favor. I want to turn my work into an act of worship. So I'm going to offer God a sacrifice. Now, Abel gave the first of his income. Cain gave a tip of his income. A tip is something you give to someone who serves you. A tithe is what you give to whom you serve. And it's all the difference in the world. God looked with favor on Abel and his offering. But on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. Now, here's what is happening. Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to say is going to mess with you. I'm going to tell you straight up. Not every offering receives the favor of God. Not every offering is blessed. Not every offering, God says, I'll take it. There is offerings that God doesn't refuse. When I started my first church, someone came to me and they said that they wanted to give me their old carpet. They wanted to take out worn, dirty carpet and give it to me to put in the church. They actually wanted to give me what they trampled on and give it as a gift to the Lord. I was 27 years of age. And I looked at them and said, no, thank you. I will not receive it. Send it to the dump. That's where it belongs. Why in the world would you offer what you've trampled on as an offering? Now, some people will say, well, that was not very polite on my end or whatever. I don't care. I am not going to give God, I'm not going to give down to God. Now, in this series, I'm going to mess with you. I can tell you right now, there's going to be people that cut off relationship with me over this. But I'm going to tell you straight up, if you will stick with me through this series, it'll change your life. I'm going to mess with you and your false belief systems about money and prosperity. And I know there's a lot of pastors who are so weak, and there's a lot of ministers who are so weak that they won't even talk about money. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be talking about money because you need it, and you need it to fulfill your purpose. I'm going to tap your potential, and I'm going to give you understanding of prosperity so that you can fulfill your purpose. Well, I can't believe I'm already done tonight. I mean, I've got a lot more notes, but I can't get to it all right now. This is going to have to be plowed out. This is why I'm writing it as a book, simply because you're not going to be able to just get a little taste of this. You've got to get a full load in order to break down the false narrative and belief system of this atheistic economics that's trying to convince you that you're the problem of the earth, and trying to convince you that you're too much of a consumer, is trying to convince you that you don't need to have any more children, so we'll abort 60 million children. All because we have a belief system that says there's only so much in the pie and one more mouth to feed is too many. So we're going to abort that child so we can feed our stupid stomach. This is what this all gets down to. This atheistic economic system that God is not wise enough to put on deposit within the creation enough to abundantly supply the creation. And I'm telling you, you serve an unlimited God who has omnipotent power, and he has put potential within you, but you cannot and will not ever release that potential until you go deep, until you have a net to pull it out. All right. God bless you. I got to go. See you. We'll see you next time.